Connor, this is such an interesting character for you. How did they describe Justin to you initially?
Oh, what was the? Oh, I wish I could find it with the description of. It was an influencer. Um, I don't know. My memory is not that there was a that they got super deep into, I guess, the emotional machinations that make him who he is. I think it was more of a description of what he does, what he's interested in, and what his relationship is to Claire. The lead character played by Kat Cunning. So I think it came more from, just me reading the script, seeing how things develop, and then getting a sort of a full sense by the end of it of how I perceive this person to be. But it's definitely a different. I always get excited when I have the opportunity to play someone who I really disagree with, sort of on every level, because it affords me the opportunity to try to understand somebody, even if I would not want to hang out with them, and even if I would like organize against them were they ever to be in power. You know what I mean? But it's still helpful to try to understand why they make the decisions they do and what I think moves them or motivates them, even to cruelty, which Justin certainly exhibits throughout the film.
There's such a great and interesting dynamic between Claire and Justin and their relationship. What kind of backstory were you given about that as well?
I wasn't really given, again, not to do a disservice to Adam, I don't, if he did, I'm sorry. I don't remember a specific backstory that, again, that wasn't just pulled from the script of like, okay, they met at a convention. So Kat and I, that's just like, we kind of built our own, okay, how long have they been seeing each other? How often do they see each other? Something I found interesting is that when Justin, and I don't know if it's in the film, they may cut into the monologue after this point, but in the script and in what we shot, Justin refers to Claire as his girlfriend. It's very clear that Justin is not their boyfriend, that Justin is at most a fuck buddy. Um, but Justin doesn't see it like that. So, at least for me personally, and I don't know if I ever talked to Kat about this, I may have, I thought that Justin actually really likes Claire. And Justin actually, like, even though he doesn't act like someone who cares much about anybody, but he does really like Claire, and I don't think has had many relationships. And I certainly don't think he's ever had a girlfriend. I think he's probably like had situationships or partners or whatever, but like I don't think he's ever been in like a proper relationship. So I think for him, the fact that they've been hooking up for 2 or 3 months is like this is about as deep as you get with somebody. And the fact that Claire likes aliens and he likes aliens, that's kind of all he needs. He's a simple man.
He is um, doubtful of her seeing these lights, though. And then he meets this individual. Well, Ricardo stumbles upon the two of
Mhm.
them. Does he finally believe her at that point? Is there a way to believe Claire's
I
actually seeing
I never thought
aliens?
he did. In my head, Justin was a UFO theorist or believer out of convenience, out of sort of what he fell into as an influencer and as a streamer. That he is, very much audience captured. So right now he has a community of people that are very interested in UFOs, but if this is taking place, we had a bunch of UFO news was a year or two ago when there were some hearings and like so. I think his community at the time was very focused on this thing. But my thought is that if Justin today in 2025 is still an influencer, he's completely moved off UFOs and is now on something else as his audience shifts. I don't think his personal curiosity is really that deep. And I think that's evidenced by the second he has any reason to think it could be anything else. He drops it in 2 seconds, and it's like, all right, well, there's no faith in him. He would have to be presented with, uh, but then even then, I don't even know if he. I never saw him as somebody who had deep convictions um, about particularly anything, which is why as awful as his behavior is, I also didn't see him as an ideological racist or xenophobe, that he was somebody who was just very easy to convince. Um, in that when he first sees Ricardo and his daughter, his thought isn't, okay, these people are going to hurt us and they're dangerous, and he has to be told that. And once he's told that, he's like, oh, okay, well, that's what this is. So now I got to do something about it. And then he sticks with that, which again is not at all a defense of his behavior. I just found it instructive as far as like what's going on in his head all the time.
I mean, these people show up, and Claire is finally thinking someone can validate what she's seen. So, I mean, I think it's only fair that Justin, have and Tyler have this sort of doubt in her often, excuse me, Taylor sees and her visions along the way. I mean, if someone says to you, I've seen seven lights and I'm chasing it for my entire life, maybe Justin is there because he thinks, this is great. This is great content.
It is. That's 100%. And I think he thinks like, all right, well, in the off chance that she finds something, again, like, good, that works for me. The downside is like, I've already told my community that we're going to go do this thing, and now I don't have internet, and now I don't have any images to show, so it just looks bad on me. So he's looking just for something to feed his audience. And I think, you know, again, I think it's more about status for him, and I think he enjoys the idea. And I think conspiracies are attractive to people because it tells you that you are privy to some sort of secret knowledge, something that most people aren't aware of, that the higher ups are hiding, and that you and your group understand. And I think that's very attractive for somebody like Justin. Of just like, yeah, I'm aware of a truth that most of these other people just like they don't get it, man. But I get it. But I don't think that means that he actually believes in aliens. If we're going to use Claire as a barometer for what belief
Sure.
looks like, then no. He, again, it's fair weather faith. It's like, sure, I'll like, he goes to church on Christmas. You know what I mean? Like
That's
he's
the
like,
one you say.
sure, yeah, great. But does he believe? No. Depending on who he's with.
What were what was a favorite scene of yours to film? Is there one that particularly stands out as either the most proud of the work you put into it, or maybe, just one that you find super compelling?
Um, it's an interesting question because I didn't. I always enjoy filming, but because of who Justin is, most of the scenes, especially when we get to the house and once Ricardo enters the picture, um, I can't say I enjoyed filming the scenes because I have to be in a place where I'm saying things and doing things and treating people in a way that I don't want to. And I have to put that aside to do my job, but it's not fun to be shitty in that way. It can be a lot of fun to play a villain, but Justin is not the kind of villain that's particularly fun to be, because he's not aware that he's the villain, and he's not like enjoying his meanness. He just doesn't know, he sort of doesn't understand how to be better. So he's constantly, I felt constantly on the back foot and constantly like, why doesn't anyone like me? I don't like, why is everybody looking at me like this? Why is everyone being so mean to me? I certainly had fun. I had a lot of fun in the driving scenes, I guess, because at that point, that's sort of the closest that the three characters are to having a little bit of community. And Taylor's not being actively hostile because he's having withdrawals and is in his own world. And Claire and Justin are just sort of bantering about aliens, which is something that's fun for Justin. And we were able to improv some stuff. Pat's just so much fun to play with. So I certainly enjoyed those because in those brief moments, um, I was not being a mean person. And that was nice.
Well, this is, a darker role. How did you shake off a long day of being in this individual then?
I think again that, there's I was saying this earlier, I think there's it's easier for me to play somebody who arrives at their cruelty not out of a sense of ideology or pleasure, but out of fear and ignorance. Because I don't think Justin's wandering around with hate in his heart. I just think he is stupid and easily manipulated and believes what he sees if he wants to, and is very scared. I think he's a very scared person, and people tend to do pretty awful things when they're afraid. So I was able to sort of leave it on the table that the hardest scene for me was obviously when Justin really goes at Ricardo and his daughter, like menacing a little girl and a father, and like it was just, yeah, like that was just not a nice thing to do, even pretend. Um, and to be the person, which is I guess why I sort of the way the scene drove me was by the end of it I felt that Justin recognized that he really fucked up, that he doesn't leave that scene feeling good about himself just because all of the other actors' work was so good that I couldn't be present in the moment as Justin and not see what I'd just done and how much hurt I'd caused. And without the ideology, I think, motivating that cruelty, because that can blind you to what you're doing if you have like a real deep set belief in your awfulness. But if you don't, and then you come face to face with the harm you've caused, I think it's really hard to hold on to that anger. I think you wind up just sort of crumbling a bit, which is what happened to him. So I guess all that to say, I was able to sort of leave it on set. I've done other things that were harder to feel okay about. This I could sort of drop at the end of the day, and thankfully, I really enjoy all the people I'm working with. So the second we left set, I was able to be around my friends, and that always made me feel better. It was nice to like. I think it was helpful to have both Kat and McCabe play their parts so well and treat Justin with so much derision, but that when we finished for the day, they then treated me like Connor. I think that really helped because it was like, oh, good, like it's not real.